Do you ever feel stuck on a problem, no matter how hard you try? You sit there staring at the same issue over and over again. You think about it in the shower. You think about it while you're eating. You think about it when you're supposed to be working on something else. And somehow, the more effort you put into solving it, the more impossible it feels. Maybe it's a work problem. Maybe it's a creative block. Maybe it's a personal decision, like whether to take a new opportunity, end a bad habit, or finally start something you've been putting off. At first you tell yourself, I just need to think harder. So you do. You push. You analyze. You overthink. You make lists. Rewrite the lists. Second guess the lists. And somehow end up even more confused than when you started. But here's the truth. Sometimes the problem isn't that you're not thinking hard enough. Sometimes the problem is that you're thinking about the problem in the wrong way. That's what this video is about. Today, I'm going to share a few simple brain hacks that can help you solve problems faster, think more clearly, and get unstuck when your mind feels like it's running in circles. These are not magic tricks. They won't instantly solve every challenge in your life, but they can change how you approach problems, and that alone can make a huge difference. Because better problem solving is not always about having more intelligence, more time, or more information. Often, it's about asking better questions, changing your mental angle, and giving your brain the right conditions to find the answer. Let's start with why traditional problem solving can feel so frustrating. Most of us were taught to solve problems in a very direct way. You identify the issue, focus on it, and keep working until you find the answer. And sometimes, that works. If you're solving a basic math problem or following a clear set of instructions, direct effort is useful. You can sit down, focus, and work through the steps. But real-life problems usually aren't that clean. Real-life problems are messy. They involve emotions, uncertainty, missing information, other people, deadlines, pressure, fear, and sometimes a lot of self-doubt. For example, let's say you're trying to figure out why you keep procrastinating on an important goal. The direct approach might sound like this. Why am I so lazy? That question feels direct, but it's not helpful. It puts your brain in defense mode. Instead of finding a solution, you start judging yourself. Then you might think, I just need more discipline. So you try to force yourself to work harder. Maybe that works for a day or two, but then you fall back into the same pattern. Now you feel even worse because the problem didn't go away. The issue is that traditional problem solving often treats every problem as if it can be solved with more effort. But not every problem needs more effort. Some problems need more clarity. Some need a new perspective. Some need you to stop focusing on the solution and look at the system creating the problem. And some need you to step away for a little while so your brain can process things in the background. That's where brain hacks come in. A brain hack is simply a way to work with your mind instead of against it. It's a small shift that helps you think better, reduce mental friction, and open up new options. The first brain hack is called reframing. Reframing means changing the way you define the problem. This matters because the way you describe a problem shapes the kind of solution your brain looks for. For example, imagine you're struggling to get healthy. You might define the problem as, I have no motivation to work out. That sounds reasonable, but it leads your brain toward one kind of solution, finding more motivation. So you watch motivational videos, you buy a new workout plan, you try to hype yourself up, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Now let's reframe the problem. Instead of saying, I have no motivation to work out, you ask, how can I make exercise easier to start? That question opens up completely different solutions. Maybe you put your workout clothes next to your bed. Maybe you choose a 10-minute walk instead of a full gym session. Maybe you work out at home instead of driving somewhere. Maybe you stop trying to exercise at night when you're exhausted and do it in the morning instead. Same problem, different frame. The first version focuses on your lack of motivation. The second version focuses on reducing friction. That's the power of reframing. When you feel stuck, try changing the question. Instead of asking, why can't I do this? Ask, what would make this easier? Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what system is making this harder than it needs to be? Instead of asking, what's the perfect answer? Ask, what's the next useful step? Your brain responds to the questions you give it, so give it questions that lead somewhere. The second brain hack is constraint thinking. This one sounds strange at first because most people think creativity comes from having unlimited options. But too many options can actually make problem solving harder. When everything is possible, your brain has no boundaries. It has to search through too much information. That's when you start feeling overwhelmed. Constraints give your brain something to push against. Here's a simple example. Imagine someone tells you, "Come up with a business idea." That's too broad. Your brain might freeze because there are endless possibilities. But now, imagine they say, "Come up with a business idea you could start with no money, from your bedroom, using skills you already have, and launch in 7 days." Suddenly, your brain has direction. The limits make the problem clearer. You might think of freelance writing, tutoring, social media editing, digital templates, online coaching, or selling a simple guide. The constraint didn't block creativity, it focused it. The constraint didn't block creativity, it focused it. You can use this in everyday problem solving too. If you're trying to write something and you're stuck, give yourself a constraint like, write the worst possible first draft in 10 minutes. If you're trying to save money, ask, how could I reduce my weekly spending by just $10 without changing my lifestyle too much? If you're trying to plan your day, ask, what are the 3 things that would make today feel successful? Constraints simplify the mental field. They force your brain to stop wandering and start solving. One of the best constraints is time. This doesn't mean rushing important decisions, but short time limits can help you get out of overthinking. For example, set a timer for 5 minutes and write down as many possible solutions as you can. Don't judge them. Don't organize them. Just list them. Your first few ideas may be obvious, but after a minute or two, your brain often starts reaching for more creative options. Then, after the timer ends, you can look at the list and pick one idea to test. This is important. You don't need to find the perfect solution immediately. You usually just need a testable next step. The third brain hack is inversion. Inversion means solving a problem backward. Instead of asking, how do I succeed? You ask, how would I fail? This works because sometimes it's easier to spot what causes failure than what creates success. Let's say you want to be more productive. The normal question is, how can I have a productive day? That's useful, but it can be vague. Now invert it. Ask, what would guarantee an unproductive day? The answers are probably obvious. You would start the morning by checking your phone. You would keep your workspace messy. You would say yes to every interruption. You would avoid choosing priorities. You would jump between tasks all day. You would leave your hardest work until you're already tired. Now you have something practical. You don't need to create the perfect productivity system. You can start by avoiding the things that obviously ruin your focus. Put your phone in another room. Clear your desk. Pick one priority before opening your inbox. Do the hardest task earlier. Block distractions for 1 hour. Inversion is powerful because it removes the pressure to be brilliant. You don't have to figure out the best possible answer. You just identify the worst patterns and stop feeding them. This can work for relationships, money, fitness, learning, and decision-making. If you want a better relationship, ask, what behaviors would damage trust over time? If you want to manage money better, ask, what habits would keep me broke? If you want to learn faster, ask, what would make me forget everything I study? When you invert the problem, you reveal the traps. And once you can see the traps, you can avoid them. Now let's talk about the most counterintuitive brain hack. This one might sound like doing nothing, but it's actually one of the most effective ways to solve difficult problems. The hack is strategic stepping away. When you're stuck, your instinct is usually to keep pushing. You think, I can't stop now, I haven't solved it yet. But sometimes, continuing to stare at the problem only keeps your brain locked in the same pattern. Your conscious mind keeps repeating the same thoughts, the same assumptions, the same failed solutions. Stepping away gives your brain a chance to reset. This is why good ideas often show up in random moments, like while you're walking, showering, driving, cooking, or lying in bed. It's not because those activities are magical. It's because your mind is relaxed enough to make connections in the background. Your brain keeps working, even when you are not actively forcing it. But there's a key word here: strategic. Stepping away is not the same as avoiding the problem. Avoidance is when you run from discomfort and never come back. Strategic stepping away is when you give your brain a break on purpose, then return with fresh attention. Here's how to use it. First, define the problem clearly. Write it down in one sentence. For example, I need to figure out how to present this idea in a way my team will understand. Then, spend a focused block of time working on it, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. Gather information, write notes, explore options, and get your thoughts out of your head. Then stop. Take a walk, do something physical, clean your room, make tea, step outside. Do something that lets your mind wander without flooding it with new input. That last part matters. Scrolling social media is usually not a good reset because it fills your brain with more noise. The goal is to create mental space. After a short break, come back and look at the problem again. You may not have the full answer, but you'll often notice something you missed. Maybe the problem is simpler than you thought. Maybe one option now feels obviously better. Maybe you realize you were asking the wrong question. This hack is counterintuitive because it feels like stopping, but it's actually part of the solving process. Think of it like pulling back on a bow before releasing an arrow. The pause is not wasted. The pause creates power. One of the best ways to combine all of these hacks is to create a simple problem-solving routine. Here's what that could look like. Step 1. Write down the problem as clearly as possible. Not a paragraph, not a messy, emotional rant, just one sentence. I keep putting off my project. I don't know how to explain this idea. I'm spending too much money each month. I feel overwhelmed by my schedule. Step 2. Reframe the problem into a better question. Instead of, "Why am I failing?" ask, "What is making this harder than it needs to be?" Step 3. Add a constraint. Ask, "What could I do in 10 minutes?" Or, "What solution would cost no money?" Or, "What would I try if I could only choose one small action?" Step 4. Invert the problem. Ask, "What would make this worse?" Then look for anything on that list you are currently doing. Step 5. Step away strategically. Give your brain time to process, then return and choose one next action. The goal is not to solve your entire life in one sitting. The goal is to create movement. Because being stuck is often not about having zero options. It's about not being able to see the options clearly. These brain hacks help you create clarity. Reframing helps you ask a better question. Constraints help you focus your thinking. Inversion helps you avoid obvious mistakes. Strategic stepping away helps your brain make new connections. And together, they give you a more flexible way to solve problems. So the next time you're stuck, don't just tell yourself to think harder. Pause and ask, "Am I looking at this the right way?" Because the moment you change how you look at a problem, you change the kind of answers your brain can find. And sometimes, the breakthrough you need is not a bigger effort, it's a better angle. To recap, here are the key brain hacks we covered. First, reframe the problem. Change the question, and you change the solution path. Second, use constraints. Limits can make your thinking sharper and more creative. Third, try inversion. Ask how you would fail, then avoid the patterns that lead there. And finally, step away strategically. Give your brain space to process instead of forcing it to repeat the same thoughts. Try one of these today. Pick a problem you've been overthinking and run it through just one of these hacks. Reframe it, add a constraint, invert it, or take a real break and come back with fresh eyes. Then let me know in the comments which one helped you most. And if you have your own favorite problem-solving trick, share it too. Someone else watching might need exactly that idea. If you found this helpful, subscribe for more videos on productivity, mindset, and thinking better in everyday life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.